Anymore.
I'm fine, thank you. I'm happy to be here, sitting in the midst of beautiful women, you know.
Beautifully.
Thank you. I cannot carry loss.
What's the glow about?
It is well. So as you can see, I'm all blinged up. So I decided to reach out to Milola to hook a sister up. You know, skin on flick, body on flick, hair on flick. So I had to, but I really love my dress.
This is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
You know, she does luxury brands, all these, you know, all these rich auntie vibes.
Rich auntie vibes.
But I said, Milola, please, do you have casual brands? She said, yes, she does. She just launched it. I said, okay, don't worry, I will be happy to be a brand ambassador.
Nice.
So I'm super excited. I really love my dress.
Yeah.
I really.
You sat so well on you.
I'm telling you.
It's really beautiful. I don't think the cameras are really capturing all the lights. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It is. It's so beautiful.
I'm blushed.
Well done. When you finish, you know where you can hang it. So yeah, I can locate it.
All right, so we have a birthday shout out first before we go into the conversation. I have a lovely princess I would like to say happy birthday to. She's somebody's daughter. Pico, what's her full name? Let me not murder it.
Omojola Oluwa Ojo.
Aww.
Yes.
And where is my picture?
Yes. So
Omojola.
baby's birthday, yes.
She's so pretty. I said to myself that,
Is that your daughter?
yes.
How old is she on today?
7.
Oh my God,
Seven, such a cool number. Your daughter too turned 7?
Yeah, she turned 7.
When?
In December last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
High five.
And she's
I think we keep
Anjola
doing it.
Oluwa.
What are the
Okay, now,
odds? What are the
I was the one that was supposed to.
A few days. Like the girls' moms.
Yes.
Sadly, I don't have girls.
It's okay.
But I can have daughter-in-law. No.
You're not gonna
So I put up a post just before we went on air.
Tell me.
I put up a post of me wearing Covenant University t-shirt, and I remember the story. So I remembered one story, and I wrote it in the caption. How my father was, oh, that's Angela.
Omojola.
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 Okay, she's so pretty.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
So much like you. How come you got so lucky?
Thank you.
Is she your
Please, Mr. Ojo, hear
She's the
this.
first?
Yes, she's my first
Oh my
daughter.
God, my first daughter doesn't look like me.
Please, Mr. Ojo, hear this because there's been a battle. Who this girl looks like.
She looks absolutely like you.
Another 5,
Is it
another 5.
joking? Like,
Oh,
I think we finished our batch that time. So as I was saying,
thank you.
don't burn the children that you cannot send to school. In this our generation, so we are good.
I think we all have to.
Yeah, because the truth is, have you heard?
I want to hold
You
on
were
by
telling
my
me something
hand and
yesterday.
one by my left.
No,
Why put the thumb?
but then you told me something yesterday. You said that your daughter that just graduated from nursery to primary,
to
that
primary.
the school fees that you've paid so
From
far,
1 year to 5 years.
all of how many years of
higher university years.
So
And she's just getting to primary 1.
so you're just getting started. All right, so we're not talking babies today. We're talking football. I mean, no, not football.
What sports?
The business of sports. And here's what we found as today's quote. Professional sports is a business. Very short and simple. That's the quote for today. You know, sometimes people look at sports and they think it's just, you know, an event, but it's actually a business. So if we start to treat it like a business, you know, maybe things will change. So the Nigerian sport, though always exercise, was noted first in the 1950s. Nigeria had its first appearance in the Helsinki Olympics game in 1952 and its first victory in 1954 when Emmanuel won a gold medal in the high jump at the Commonwealth Games in Cardiff. With the recent happenings in the just concluded Tokyo Olympics and the very shameful event that happened to the Nigerian athletes, how well is the business of sports in Nigeria? Bukola Olokpade is here to discuss this, but first we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching ways, and nobody likes having a close quarter conversation with that one person who has just had onions and garlic for lunch. Did you see that coming? So whether at a party, in the office, or generally just out somewhere in public, bad breath is a social no that many people aren't even aware that they have. So Fresh Bread Day was created to promote the kindness that comes from having an awareness about the importance of fresh bread. Noma, I wish you were here. Noma will say, consideration, Biko. You know the mouth is smelling.
Well, for some people, they don't know.
They don't know, yes.
They don't know.
And I think it's not fair that we don't tell people when they have a bad breath or body odor. Really, because they could work on it. There's a gentle way to put it across.
Well, if you aren't close, like for example, you're in a bus, you're in a supermarket.
You can't touch it.
Somebody has.
You can't touch it.
Thank you.
If you touch it, they're gonna drag you.
Exactly. So maybe even with close ones, you have to even really. There needs to be some emotional intelligence.
But you know what I am grateful for? Thank God for COVID-19.
Why? The nose mask?
It's only you that will be receiving whatever you have.
You know that masks actually help you to smell
your breath. Yes. So you would know.
If you have a breath.
Yeah, if you have a bad breath, yes. So actually that nose mask, I mean, I say I thank God for COVID-19. It's a very good invention. So even without, so now makeup artists going forward should just wear a nose mask.
I agree.
Yes, because, they should wear nose masks.
You are shaking table. Why just shook tables?
I have had my fair share.
I feel you, my sister.
You're talking from
a sheer pain.
It's coming from a deep place. So please, but for some reason, if you have anyone close to you, don't be shy to talk to them about it. Like body odor, I always educate young people. I tell them, please go and buy lime. Shave your pits and use it for a week. It kills body odor. It's very good.
And if there's any, without trying to do any advert, the surest antiperspirant is sure.
I'll be you. Okay.
Tested and trusted.
All right, so let's go to our news. So happy fresh birthday for those that keep us fresh. What did you find for us, AK?
Okay, so I'm quite excited by this news that I found from The Punch. Headline is Lagos Assembly cuts ex-governors' pensions by 50%. Sure, some Nigerians will be very happy to read this. So the Lagos State House of Assembly has reduced the pension of former governors of the state by 50%. And it was not just, this was signed by Eremosele Ehomele, the Chief Press Secretary to the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly on Thursday. Now, it's not just the former governors, it's also officials. So some government officials are affected by this. And they went further to say that mandatory house, the provision of a house in Abuja and Lagos for ex-governors, they've expunged that.
Fantastic.
So you see what Lagos state government is doing? It's already beginning to reduce the cost of governance. And when I read this, I was so happy. I was like, can we replicate this on the federal level?
All states.
Yes, or just replicate this on the federal level so people would know that you're going there. And they've also reduced the number of cars that the governors will get. So instead of getting 3, they get 2. And I think also they don't get a bus or something. But I was really excited to see, okay, we might be surrounded by bad news, but this is also a step forward to get us to where we want to be. So I really wish that other states and at the federal level we can replicate.
And I just hope that this is not a political way to wet the ground for 2023.
That's another one.
That's just, because that's what a skeptic will say. I hope they're not trying to wet the ground towards 2023. But it's actually a good step in the right direction, because sometimes why do you even need a house in Abuja? If you have let's even say give you a home in Lagos where you governed, fine. Why do you have to go get a house in Abuja? Do you understand? It makes no sense. So we should start cutting down some of these excesses, and see how it will have a ripple effect on better governance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those funds could actually go into building schools. There's a lot.
So many things. Hospitals. We still have a lot of deficits.
And it reduces the burden of the people funding the government. So it reduces that cost of governance.
Absolutely. There's a lot of maintenance that comes with even those buildings in the first place.
Yeah. All right, so Dan, what did you find for us in news?
I have in the news for us today from Punch as well, actually. CNN sacks 3 employees for coming to work unvaccinated. It's quite interesting to know that 3 employees at CNN have been fired for violating the network's coronavirus policy by coming into the office unvaccinated, according to US media reports. In an internal memo emailed to staff Thursday and obtained by several US media outlets, CNN President Jeff Zucker said that in the past week, the company had become aware of 3 employees who came to work unvaccinated, and the 3 of them were terminated. There's a law that says in May, the United States federal government said it was legal for employees to require staff physically entering the workplace to be vaccinated against COVID-19. This is
and there's also an internal policy within CNN that says that either you work from home or
you have to physically be at work.
You have to be vaccinated.
I think it's fair because you cannot put other people in danger. And if you follow news on CNN, you would see that they actually support the campaign for everyone to be vaccinated. So you cannot work it's like working in Mercedes and then you are driving a Toyota.
But does getting vaccinated actually prevent you from contracting the virus?
Well, it does.
Okay.
Let me just quickly take my story because we need to go on a very quick break now. My story is actually linked to Dami's. Jennifer Aniston, Hollywood actress, the actor, said that she had cut off some of her friends, and she gave the reason why she cut off her friends. That yes, she has been vaccinated. So if you've not been vaccinated, and you infect her, she might go ahead to infect someone that has not been vaccinated. So the best thing for her is just anybody that has not been vaccinated, stay away from me. That's the story. All right, so we'll take a very short break now. When we return from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Decision point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You're going to cut her?" are you going to cut it? Is it going to leave a scar? And I said, am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken. Of you? Yes,
Yeah,
but
we
without
had that
showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, you can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house. I said, well, it's my body and it's my front room.
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
At breakfast, where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the 2 vehicles that were completely born. This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. A Moteco core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
You're welcome to this edition of Timeless Conversations. My guest today is Alfred Okoro.
The Nigerians here seem frustrated. Everybody wants to leave. And the moment they cross these waters, they excel. Both Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, South, everybody in Nigeria. We've been ranked the most successful ethnic group in the United States. Why is it that we excel there, but not at home? Our diversity makes us the better. I believe so. I will be one of those to tell you I do not believe this country was designed to succeed. But so what? Nobody wants to start anything that they will not live to enjoy.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Nigeria is a country of young people, and so sports is a major segment in this country. And that has been the case since the 40s and intensified after independence. Even though football has taken up a lion's share of time and resources, many other sports like athletics, boxing, basketball have thrown up some memorable moments in the Nigerian sporting history. So as we attempt to review the outing of the Nigerian athletes of the just concluded Tokyo Olympics, one can't help but wonder, how well do we even understand the sporting business in Nigeria, and what can we do to harness the potential of sports in our very youthful population? Now, let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I'm going to bring in our guests like in a minute. I just want to understand, do you see our sporting industry in Nigeria, or sports ministry in Nigeria, when you see it, do you see it that these people are really serious and they know what they're doing in terms of business?
You know the answer.
No, I'm just asking you.
Because every time we get perplexed, sometimes I wonder, and I'm really excited about the guest that we have today because of his vast, experience. And I'm like, when I see other sports people in other clients, I wonder, is it a different kind of sport? They run differently because they make so much money. And then I
juxtapose that.
Yes, and then you're wondering, there's something that's not adding up. And then when you hear the politics of it, all the selection, then you don't want to talk about the fact that if it's not football, it's not happening. I'm so glad that we're having this because I really want to understand, do we have, sports be a business in Nigeria? Do we have a future
for it?
Can I, train my daughter
towards,
I'm not a sporter to go and do their first and then come back to do Olympics for us. Okay. So
how about you, Dami?
I think it can be improved upon. We don't have enough, apparently, and there is room for improvement. But I like to learn more about the business side of sports. Really, that's what I'm more keen about, because for me, it's about...
We can just have a Milola sporting line.
It's possible, actually. We can actually produce damage for them.
I'm telling you. All right, so I'm going to bring in our guest. Bukola Olopade is the CEO of Nilayo Sports Management Limited, a sport management and marketing company who have worked with some of the biggest names in the world of sports like the IAAF, the CAA, and the AFN. He has also served in various leadership capacity as the president, Nigerian Wheelchair Basketball Federation, Ogun State Commissioner for Youth and Sport, and also the special advisor to the governor of Ogun State on youth and sport. He is a well-grounded sportsman, and we're truly honored to be having him to have this conversation. And he's live with us in studio. Hello. Thank you so much, Mr. Bukola Olopade, for coming to grace our sets, But you see, this conversation is been, social media went agog. When we saw our shot put finalists washing jersey that, according to the reports that we saw online, Puma had given Nigeria free jerseys, which they, according to the report, you will tell us the real story, which they declined to go and buy jerseys. And we now found our athletes, doing that. And again, the other athletes that had to protest because a mandatory test that they did not take. What exactly is the business like, the business side of sports in Nigeria, and how much interference is, how much government interference that we have today in our sporting industry in Nigeria is affecting, how much of it is affecting, the growth and the success of our sporting industry in Nigeria?
So you've literally asked 3 different questions.
Yes.
Actually.
I'm not going to say too much on the Puma issue because it's something before the courts between the AFN, the Ministry of Sports, and my background is law, so I have to be careful what I say about it if I get myself into trouble. But I do not think we should always believe everything we see on social media. The truth be said, an athlete that was given whether 1 shirt or 2 shirts or 3 shirts will still have to wash the shirt anyway. Making a big deal out of it from that thrower that I have a lot of respect for me, made no sense. And for that, I really don't want to say much. But let's talk about sports business. And I like your final approach to the question. As government interference, either way, positively affected or negatively affected either sports business or men and women? Because you guys, you've spoken about our participation at the Olympics and the abysmal performances that people have complained about. I don't want to call it abysmal because we still came back with a silver and a bronze.
Yeah,
unlike the last Olympics,
We didn't come up with nothing.
Nothing. Credit must be given to Esther Brume and Blessing for the job. Nilayo actually challenged Esther Brume that get yourself on the podium on TV, we'll give you $10,000 and we'll be waiting for her at the airport with that money.
Oh, fantastic.
Just to say thumbs up to her. But to your question, a few weeks ago, I had a discussion where a KPMG report of 2018 clearly stated that after tech, Nigeria and Africa must look at sports. And that right now we're scratching the surface of sports business. And the opportunities that are abound in sports business are ridiculously huge. That was the KPMG report in 2018. Their focus was on esports. Because you're right, when they say football, everybody think that is sports. A 14-year-old 2 years ago won $3 million from winning a sports competition. The esports industry in Nigeria is growing rapidly, and the money involved is still not enough. What should government do? Government must first of all recognize the fact that sport is a contributor to the GDP. The Vice President last year, if I'm not mistaken, last year, 2019, clearly stated 43 contributory agencies to the GDP, and sports was left out. I went on TV and I said, no, that can be correct. When we look at the contribution of sport, either through poverty alleviation, through creation of wealth, you would agree with me that by the time the statisticians do their job properly, they'll see that sports business, though still being scratched on the wall, is contributing a lot to the GDP. So to that end, based on your question, I need government to do more, to encourage the private sector to support sports so that sports business can thrive. Now, if sports business thrives, the trickle-down effect on participants, stakeholders, players, athletes, officials would grow. And from there, you discover that we'll start to win more gold medals. Because the truth of the matter is, you need to go to the grassroots to plant the seed that will be germinated for all of us to have a feel-good factor. Because what happens when they win the medals? It doesn't come to your home or my own.
Oh, you are excited.
You have a feel-good factor that carries you for a very long time. So I feel government still needs to do more. But sports business, like you rightly said, is beyond football. When I left as commissioner, the first thing I did was to go and study sports management at the master's level at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in South Africa, because I had seen that this is a cash cow, but I did not understand it. And I needed to understand the act of doing business in sports. And that was what led to Nilayo Sports Management, that today, the biggest sponsored sports program in Nigeria.
Yes,
I don't care what
Lagos City Marathon.
Absolutely, I don't care what football brings. Is the biggest sponsored sporting program in Nigeria. And when you look cumulatively at all the road races that Nilayo has done in the last 7 years, which is about almost, we have like 6 brands now, and we're working on Abuja. You agree with me that looking beyond football, a lot can be made, honest, and taken out of other sports, creating the avenue for younger people to be paid and become wealthy in their own ways and alleviate poverty. My advice, quickly, is that we need to study more. She says she wants to know more about the sporting business. Spot on. There are too many young people out there who want to go into the sporting business, who just believe owning a football club, owning a player, or just having one thing to do with the Ministry of Sports is enough. No, there is a science to the business of sports, and you must learn it.
And I think that is where the gap is. But let me come to you, Akanimo.
Okay, so we have talked, and I really want to do with something that you have not addressed, which is the politics in our sporting. So there is the
Are you talking about sports participation or sports business?
So it has to be. I don't know what
it has to be. Sports participation.
You must help me put it in order. Let me explain the layman terms, because obviously I'm not an expert here. So there's the AFN and there's the Ministry of Sports. First and foremost, help us tied. What is the relationship
between the two?
Between the two, and why do they always seem as loggerheads? Because I think I watched on TV and someone was saying the Puma deal. Don't blame the AFN blamed the Ministry of Sports. You know, so what is the relationship between the Ministry of Sports and the AFN? And do you think that there should be more, because from what we're hearing and reading, there seems to be friction, which is actually affecting the performance and, you know, the growth of sports. So please help us put that in perspective.
So I'll give you an illustration for you to understand it better. I was very impressed with Uwa reeling out stuff about me, because when she asked me this afternoon, I strategically gave her only Bukola Lokpade Nilayo Sports Management.
Leaving her to do our research.
And she said, yes, what are you, CEO, MD? I said, you know, I don't like titles. Eventually I said, you CEO. I didn't give her the other stuff. So thank you for doing your research. I was the president of the Nigeria Wheelchair Basketball Federation, a federation that was obscured, nobody knew about it. And through the business sense of sports, we raised every year close to 100 million naira for that sport, unknown sports. But when it was time for re-election, the then Minister Dalong, due to his own interest, I don't want to go into, disqualified me for no reason. He used his ministry to disqualify me. I know the reason, but I'm not going to go into those mundane issues, because that has led to the total destruction of that sport that was on the way up.
And it was growing.
Rapidly. Disqualified me. I did not argue. I allowed it go. You know why? The Ministry of Sports is the father and mother and the god of every sport.
Wow.
So AFN, if you are the president of AFN and you say you will not subscribe to directives from the same body that puts you together, under a decree 37 if I'm not mistaken, and under laws, different laws establishing you as a federation, why won't you be at loggerheads? Let me ask you a question. Every federation, they all have Secretary General. The question is, where do they come from? You know the answer?
From the
ministry. They are seconded from the ministry.
But are they not supposed to act autonomous of the ministry?
Ideally.
So that in that sense, they should not have to succumb to every whims and caprice of the ministry.
So that's a different argument. But again, as parents,
yeah, when you grow up a child to a particular level, it is ideal that you expect that child to have a life.
Not when that child is still living under my roof and collecting money from me.
Oh, that's exactly. So now the challenge is that they're not independent.
Well, have you given the child the capacity to be independent and make money on their own?
Good. Fantastic question. I know that when Sunday Dare, this very progressive minister, I don't care what anybody says today, Sunday Dare is the best minister we've had in a long time. And I've worked with so many. I've been in this industry for 21 years or so. As a commissioner, that's an administrator, who took my state from 19th position of the national ladder to the 2nd. Who hosted the best sports festival ever in this country and left a profit, talking about business of sports. When we hosted in 2006, we declared a profit of 96 million naira. Never done before. And we did not collect a kobo from the state government. We raised every money from the private sector.
Independent of the ministry and the government?
No, we worked with the ministry. The ministry owns the festival. I don't care what you say. The ministry owns sports. If not, then there will be no Ministry of Sports. What are they pretending over? But the point I was trying to make...
The ministry is not supposed to be in the business. They're supposed to be in governance and regulation.
The business of sports is different from the federating of sports agencies.
Why would
there are two different things.
Why would a government entity be doing business?
Okay, you know,
I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
The ministry is not doing business. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you is that you asked, why is the ministry superintending over the federation?
Yes.
I gave you an illustration, and I said I did not argue because I knew it was within the powers of Dalong to disqualify me. His excuse was that I was the CEO of the Football League.
So there's a conflict of interest, according to his reason for dismissal.
His excuse, he didn't dismiss me. They disqualified me and I said, let it be. I didn't fight it. Because I love the sport and I like it to grow. The president Guzo, that is fighting this minister and the ministry, loves athletics, and I know he does. But when you love something, you do not build a house and demolish it yourself. Right? When you signed a deal with Puma, you've done well, right? That deal is for Nigeria. The deal is for Athletics Federation of Nigeria, not your family or your cronies. Now, if there are materials meant for athletes, you put it out there for the country and for the athletes. You grow beyond your mundane selfish interest or your ego. For me, no matter the good job that any one of them would have done from the federation, allowing it to affect young boys and girls goes beyond the love you claim you have for the sport.
It's sabotage of your best.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let me take a break. Very, very short break, right? Today is not for phone calls. I'm sorry we can't take calls. Just send us your messages. We'll take a break. We'll continue the conversation. Very short break. We'll be right back. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Bukola Olopade on the business of sports in Nigeria. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation today. Send us SMS and WhatsApp only on 081-803-84663. We can't do phone calls today, we're sorry. All right, so you were going to talk about business.
Yes.
Before we go into the business, right, because you mentioned something very pertinent about, you know, your understanding and how you had to go back to get sports management. That's the business of sports management. In your assessment of the current people, since now we're dealing with the umbrella body, which is the Ministry of Sports, in your assessment, how well do you think they understand that this is a business? And how well do you see them doing in terms of making that business thrive?
You know one thing we love to do in Nigeria is to create armchair critics everywhere. I've worked with a lot of the technocrats at the ministry, either as an administrator or as a businessman. You'll be shocked to know that we have the most qualified people in the Ministry of Sports, intellectually gifted, qualified. We have PhD holders at the ministry on sports, those who have spent their entire life studying sports. Have they thrived with it? That's a debate that we will continue to have. Have they been given the atmosphere to thrive? That's another debate. But you know, earlier you mentioned the federal government. I want to thank the federal government for creating the economic summit on sports. The economic summit on sports was put together by some eggheads that you must just respect. People like Nkechi Obi, a woman that I respect a lot. Whatever we are making today in terms of Naira and Kobo in business of sports, people like Nkechi Obi, Segun Odegbami and co spearheaded Mikey Temagbo, spearheaded the act of making money from sports, and credit must be given to them for the document that they've put together today, the sports policy, sports business policy put together today under the office of the Vice President. And I believe by the time implementation starts, if implementation starts, more people will start to benefit from sports business. Sports business is massive. I know. I am enjoying it. The young people, you know, that have worked with me, are enjoying it. There are people who either to have nothing to look up to, who have worked with Nilayo and the sports we do, who have become very independent and very bold in doing their own things. Today, we are building capacity, we are creating businessmen and women out of sports. And look, together we can do a lot. And I thank you for this program. A lot of people don't pick up these issues, and this is a very important issue you've picked up today, and I thank you very much for it.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask a question for my enlightened self-interest. Apparently there's a gap in the knowledge available to understand sports as a hobby or sport as business.
Correct.
Now, it's important that you clearly, just for the benefit of trying new things and understanding what are the opportunities that exist in this sector, how do sports become a business for a layman who really just does sport for fun as against wanting to do sport for business?
So yesterday I had a discussion with a gentleman called Atobatele. He's a tech whiz kid making a lot of money from tech. And we had this argument on which of these two industries. No, we don't. You can. Tech is the father of I will not go into that argument. But the argument was which of these two industries is actually impacting more on poor people and alleviating poverty and creating
grassroots involvement and
sport. I mean, did you see the video when they went to, what's her name, Blessing's family? A particular media house went to her family.
The wrestler?
Yes, to interview them. Tears came out of my eyes. You can see that she's coming from a very humble background. So this has already transformed. Yeah, go ahead, please.
And the trickle-down effect of a blessing is that now she's going to have a brand manager creating job for that person. More nutritionists creating jobs for those ones. The trickle-down effect of sports.
Massive.
The business of sport.
I like how you have mentioned.
She's asked a question that is also very important.
Yes, very.
So for me, the first thing you tell a layman is that sports, though a veritable tool of entertainment, though a veritable tool of empowerment, but is also a very strong tool of revenue earning.
Okay.
And the first thing you must explain is that get yourself knowledgeable on the sport that you want to market.
Okay, so you have to narrow it down to a specific one.
I believe creating a bespoke approach to sports business would help a lot. All of us cannot do road races. I've seen a lot of road races and I just laugh. That you need to know the technology behind organizing a road race that will make it profitable for you. We own a football club at Nilayo, playing in the professional league, right? My general manager came with me to this interview. He's going to hate me for what I'm going to say. But I just said to him, I want to buy a house in Houston. I need you to sell a player for $1 million, $2 million, because I'm putting so much money in that club, and I need to see the revenue. So his challenge, he knows, within the next 2 years, is to get me $4 million that I can go and pay for my house in Houston. It's right here. But because I do not understand the business of football, he does. Then I must challenge him. You must look for the right people to
partner with.
So don't just say because you have money to invest in sports, you want to run it yourself. Look for the best people
who can manage it.
Right, as a layman.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I like how we're shifting towards where I'm going to, and that's education. Again, in some clients, you can see that sports is even hope for some people when you talk about scholarships to school. You see, everyone's so interested in sports. Now, looking at our education system, do you think that we have to bring up, because I think it's too late to practice for Olympics 4 years to the Olympics.
God bless you.
Because some of these people have been swimming their whole lives in their school and they've been taking the sport seriously. So I really want you to talk about
I have one fantastic swimmer.
Yeah, so I want you to talk about, and I'm not looking at when I'm talking about the government's public schools, because the private people are settling their children. So, but the public schools, what is the hope? Nowadays, I don't even hear of PE sports. I don't even hear of all those things. So, what is the hope of that one? Number two, if people want to learn about the business of sports, do we have that medium? Do we have a place where people will learn? Is it a course in the financial? Financial institution.
In our
universities. Can people go and learn about sports?
Absolutely. I know University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Ife, I think Usuga, they all have very solid sports management departments. Aside from that, there are so many short courses that I just came back from Salt Lake, where I went to do...
You said Salt Lake and you said South Africa.
No, listen, I went to do a course again to improve myself on the next thing that I want to do in sport, which is esports. So, to answer your question, yes, you must start from somewhere. We have very good institutions and short courses that even Lagos Business School organize. I mean, I've sent my staff to Lagos Business School before. I sent one of my staff to South Africa to study the same course I studied, and she got the best result in the world. In a FIFA course, she got the best results in the world. Because she had been schooled in the office, she had been schooled at Lagos Business School, then she took it further. Today she's independent, she's doing her own thing, and I'm very proud of her always. The truth of the matter is, I don't know the way we think in this country, but I know we are the smartest people in the world. You just asked a question that is not rocket science. What is wrong with us having a school of excellence that would create a system where indigent students and children can get those scholarships you're talking about? If it's not a scholarship to send them abroad, why not create a scholarship system that'll take them from their various village schools to Unilag, to Yaba Tech, to
Lagos Business School, Pan-Atlantic University.
And this is why I like Sunday Diary. Sunday Diary started the Principal's Cup again, and it did not restrict it to football. That for me is the catch, because Principal's Cup has all in this synonymous with football.
Yes.
But this gentleman said, look, we have educated students who can box. So he's put in boxing, he's put in badminton, table tennis, I think about 6 or 7 sports. The first edition is gone as a trial. Huge success. They are now rebuilding it. And one of the things he's talking about is how to create scholarship from that system.
Wow.
But you know, you spoke to my being, because at Milayo, we have a scholarship system. We have children because of sports that we've sent to school. Just recently, 4 of our players, and this is really sad, what I want to say now, and I don't know if I should say this on TV. 4 of our players were picked by American universities. They just finished secondary school. And all 4 of them agreed to go back to high school in the United States. So on Tuesday, we had a Zoom meeting with the players and the coaches and the educators, those who would give the scholarship. It was a huge disappointment. All 4 players could not piece together sentences. And I felt so sad for them, because I know all they want to do is play football, but I also know that that system will project them. And they lost the scholarship.
You know, there's something when Eke was asking that question, I remember when I was in university first year, I remember the Nuga games or something.
Correct.
Yes.
When you go, it's at your detriment, because if there's exams going on,
nobody would,
right? Nobody will say this person has gone to represent. I know someone that plays judo. I mean, she's a fantastic judo sports person. She failed some of her courses because she couldn't make, so it had to be. So at that point, parents will begin to tell you, oh, I didn't send you to school to go and play judo or to go and do. Do you understand? So how do we even tie it? Because when Eke was talking about education, that was what just came to my mind, because we keep saying we want to promote sport. On the other hand, there's no synergy, between the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Sports, because now a lot of children do not even want to go and compete for any Nuga games. They are not interested in any university games, because when they go there, it's not like you are waiting for them to say, okay, no, or you can organize their own exams differently or something. So how can we even make that work? Because if we say we want to be serious about the business of sports, every child should not be, first of all, what's the word now? It's not stigmatized. Where you go and
there needs to be an integration.
There has to be an integration process where everybody, even if you are a sports person or not a sports person, you can still,
you have to be recognized
alongside with your education. You can still do your sports, which is what they have in the schools you're talking about in the US.
So, first of all, there is a synergy between Ministry of Education and Ministry of Sports.
At what level? The tertiary level?
So it's called the National School Sports Games. And if you notice, in the last 2 years, again, this minister has always done the Youth National Sports Festival alongside the Ministry of Education. But guess what? The answer to that headache you have was what she raised earlier on. When you have a scholarship system, you would go and represent your university and come back and do your own exam when there's a scholarship system.
Okay, so that's the solution.
That's the solution. You need a scholarship system that recognizes that you are only in the university because of your talent, but we also want you to be educated. Do you get? So it will be a quid pro quo where lecturers will tell you, you failed this course, you won't play sports. So there's an incentive driving your ability
education.
to excel in your naturally given talents, and the incentive for you to acquire knowledge and education, so that if it doesn't happen for you, you have something to fall back on. That is why the scholarship system is important, and it is very integral to sports business. You are correct. If we start doing these things, you just remember that sports business will continue to expand, and it is important that government and every stakeholder support sports business because of the trickle-down effect. I don't care what anybody says. The amount of people that benefit from just one successful sporting entity, is enormous.
I agree with you, and even beyond going beyond money, just even to keep people engaged and keep people hopeful. Because when you talked about
then it's no longer business.
Yes,
we must talk about money.
No, I agree. But then again, you're getting a lot of kids off the streets, because if my school has an infrastructure do you know there's a lot of practice that go into that, and people want to be the best. So you see a lot of people come because they know that the future is bright. Correct. So you see now, Blessing has projected her family, and they would
community.
Her community. That so you and I might take the camera pointing at us for granted, but for that it is hope. Correct. For a child in that environment, it just says that I can go beyond my environment if I am succeeding.
I can break ceilings. Correct.
So I for me, beyond the money, which is absolutely really very important.
Yeah. Mr. Olopode is about the money.
It's very important, but for me, that hope factor, especially in this country where everything is gone.
Thinking about money.
Thank you very much.
And you have to do it because of those that benefit for it, aside the fact that you are in it for business and for the money.
Okay, so if you had one final thing to say, because I was even thinking, is it not possible if we just remove government hand from sporting business generally completely in Nigeria? But from what you have said, I don't know whether that
can you remove government hand from tech, from oil and gas, from banking?
No. But so if you had one thing to say, because now we really want to talk to the Ministry of Sports, about the beauty about this business called sports, what would that be, so we can wrap up on that?
First of all, I want to apologize to Nigerians who are very disappointed about out in the Olympics, but to also appeal to them to give credit to whom credit is due, and to just hope for a better Commonwealth Games in Birmingham next year. Because this sports minister, Sunday Dare, that we have, I'm not here to campaign for him, but I know the difference between all the ministers that I've worked with. This is a minister that introduced Adopt an Athlete, which led to Blessing being adopted by the Bayelsa state government, which led to Toby Amushon being adopted by the Ogun state government, which led to 12 athletes being adopted by the Delta state government, and I can go on and on. Recently, Governor Sanwo-Olu adopted like almost 5 athletes, and they got paid immediately. The adoption simply means money towards your training. And it is not just for the Olympics. It is it's an adoption. When you adopt a child, it's forever. Forever. So it is an adoption that keeps those states who have adopted and those companies. Because I know Alogin, for example, adopted Adegunroye, the wrestler. Unfortunately, she lost out through some accident. She was winning 8-0, and she lost out through an accident. But that was a private sector organization that adopted that wrestler. And it is forever, which simply means coming back from the Olympics, all of these athletes, and a lot of them have been adopted.
Funds available
adopted Adegoke, Enoch, and Enoch got to the final, the third Nigerian to get to the final of the 100-meter sprint, male. And he got there because of the encouragement from Edo State. So, literally, what this minister has done is to shift the paradigm. But I told him once, I said, when you shift paradigm and you want to create change, you will step on toes, and when you step on toes, be prepared for the backlash, but keep your eyes on the ball and be focused. And that will be my last shot, that Nigerians should support this minister to continue with the brilliant job he has started. You called me here because a lot of people do not know. I'm an insider in the industry, and I've told you. But for the young people watching, I'm begging people, come and join this industry. The money is sweet, the money is enormous. The money is enormous, and trust me, you can become a multimillionaire overnight through sports. Come and join us, but educate yourself on it and be part of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful way to wrap it up. Thank you, Bukola Olopade. Thank you, Milola, and thank you, AK.
My pleasure.
A business name sounds like mine. Milola Nilayo.
Nilayo.
Yeah, if I had when you were.
All right, she's going to do apparels on Nilayo. So before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment. And most importantly, we're planning a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Waze brand and following the conversation. So do well to follow us now. It's at PlusTvAfrica. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. It's a very short and simple quote. Professional sports is a business. Let me use Mr. Olopade's words. He says it's a very sweet, juicy, lucrative business. So we're looking for more people to come into the sport. We have the talents here and we have potential to do great things in sports. We'll see you next time as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.